Hey guys, in this episode, we're going to be talking about the big decision. Do you use a realtor to sell your house or do you sell it for sale by owner? We're going to go through all the details. Stick around.
Hey guys, welcome to the Buzz Coffee and Real Estate. We are excited to be launching out on our seller series. This is going to be episode 2, and this one's called The Decision. We're going to be talking about the option of using a realtor or actually going and doing for sale by owner. So let's get into it.
Yeah, well, I think that this is really one of my favorite things to talk about because it's such a controversial topic. And of course, realtors are, you need to use a realtor, blah, blah, blah. But there really are situations where it's better to use a realtor and situations where it's not.
That's right.
And so really to be able to talk through that in an honest, impartial way to give you the pros and cons is going to be really fun. So we did the first episode of the seller series, which was really like, do I even really need to sell my house? There were some really poor quality reasons for why you should sell a house. No, just put granite in the kitchen and stay there, but there's some very legitimate reasons. So check out episode 1 if you're kind of in that just thinking stage of like, is it worth me selling a house or staying, maybe remodeling or something along those lines. But so we're kind of at the stage of like, okay, there's a legitimate reason for me to sell my house. And then you come to this huge crossroads, huge decision right at the beginning of the process.
Yeah, and I think most people, it's kind of like a taboo topic, like you said, with realtors, especially because they're like, well, no, you should always use a realtor. And it's funny because I did for sale by owners before I was a realtor, and I sold my first house for sale by owner. I also bought it for sale by owner.
Okay.
So I kind of walked through that process. It's honestly the reason why I ended up getting into real estate in the first place, because it's like, man, I did this and it worked really well, and I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So
well, and I think statistically, nationally, something like 80 to 85% of homes are sold with a full service real estate agent.
That's right.
So you got that kind of 15, maybe 20% in some areas that are not. And so obviously the primary purpose why somebody would not sell with a real estate agent is cost.
That's right.
Right? I mean, you're paying that big fat commission check, and really, let's clarify real quick, you're paying a commission check typically to 2 realtors, okay? Right. One on the listing side who's representing you. Their job is to get you the highest price, the most favorable terms for your situation. And then you're also, that real estate agent is splitting the commission typically, again, 80 to 90% of the time, with a buyer agent that's representing the buyer. So they have an opposite incentive. They're trying to get the best deal, the most favorable conditions for their buyer. So when we say commission, really we're talking about 2 commissions.
That's right. It's
the one you're paying the person who's helping you on the selling side and the one that you're paying to the buyer's agent.
That's right. And I think that's a big misconception because, I mean, we hear it all the time from buyer's agents, especially in a for sale by owner situation where they'll say, oh, well, the seller is going to pay my commission. But in a for seller situation, that may not be the case. And so sometimes buyer agents end up having to roll in their commission into the cost.
Sure.
And things like that. So that's just kind of a myth of, well, I never have to pay the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
But it's actually the seller is typically taking care of that. And then on top of that, sometimes it ends up being that for sale by owner that does.
Yeah. Yeah. So really, we're working with 3 factors that are all interchangeable. Okay. They're all connected to each other. The first factor is the money. Okay. How much profit are you making from the house?
Yep.
Okay. So yes, you're saving some commission by not using a realtor. Maybe you're not selling the house. That's, we can argue about that. Yeah. Maybe you're not making as much money from the house, because it wasn't marketed properly, whatever. But the other part of that is the stress level.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're going to sell your house yourself, you need to be prepared. You need to understand that to sell it yourself well is going to look like a part-time job.
Yeah, that's right.
From the time you're thinking about selling it to the time it gets closed. So go ahead and think that about 20 hours a week that I'm going to spend either in the marketing, the research, the dealing with potential buyers, the negotiations, the inspections, all of those sorts of processes, finding quality attorneys and appraisers and inspectors and, vetting people, all those sorts of things. So go ahead and factor it in as a part-time job. If you think of it that way, then you will do it well. Yeah. Because the worst thing that somebody can do is, hey, I want to save the cost of using a realtor. I'm going to for sale by owner. So I'm going to go to Walmart. I'm going to get a for sale by owner sign. I'm going to stick it in the yard. I'm going to get a couple of directionals. I'm going to write my phone number in, microscopic little writing in the box, and then it'll probably go okay. That's a nightmare. Okay, that's a perfect recipe to lose tens of thousands of dollars and have multiple headaches.
That's right.
So don't do it that way. If you're going to for sale by owner, let us show you the right way to do it. And that's what this whole series is going to talk about.
Exactly, yeah. So you're going to have both options. You're going to have the realtor side and the for sale by owner side. So for us, I think one of the biggest pieces is when you go into it, first you got to ask yourself the question, is it time, money, or stress?
Right. And actually, thank you for adding that, because that was the third really leg of the stool. Money, stress I talked about, but time is a huge thing too.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most of the time you have to think about it from that perspective is, when we are doing a transaction as a realtor, it's probably going to take us between 60 days, maybe even longer, just to get the house ready, to get it on market, to get all the documents signed, to get everything kind of set up, get pictures done, get measurements done, all of that. And measurements is a big piece of that too. You really, we hire typically, in most cases, unless it's just an easy house to measure, we will hire an appraiser to come in and actually measure the house for you.
Right.
And we'll hire a professional photographer or a videographer or something like that.
If you're talking, a couple $100 a square foot, then every square foot counts, and that's going to affect the pricing. You don't want to use measurements off of, some sort of previous listing
or the tax card.
Or the tax card. Right. But maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Okay, so we were talking about the V. Okay, so we've got the V of this is full service real estate agent. Okay, what we would say realtor. Okay, this is somebody who's a consultant, guide, protector, teacher. Hopefully they're not a salesperson. Okay, if you're working with somebody and you feel like this person's just selling me, pushing me, manipulating me, then drop them. Okay, you need somebody that is teacher, consultant, guide, protector. Those are the four words of what we are trying to embody as a listing agent. This is probably your largest asset, and one little mistake here or there is going to cost thousands of dollars. So we want to make sure that we're coming at it from that perspective. So that's the one route. So as we do this series and we talk through the different steps, one route we're talking about, hey, you got somebody that's in your court that does this all the time, that's in hundreds of homes a year, doing dozens of transactions a year, and they're going to be counseling you through each step. So you can go ask your realtor. Or we have this other route, and that's what you and I are talking about, which we want to expose in a good way the work that's going to be required to for sale by owner your house well.
That's right.
And so that's why we're really going to try to slow down, because we do it all the time, so we're pretty efficient at what we do. But if you, the homeowner, are going to do it, then we want to give you as clear a steps of the process as we can, and then you can just decide, hey, which way do I want to go?
That's right.
I like it to a YouTube video on how to fix your car.
That's right.
Right? So a mechanic, if he's smart, will start doing YouTube videos explaining how to fix your car, which would sound really counterintuitive at first. Like, whoa, he's going to hurt his own business. He's teaching you how to do his job. But ultimately, he's not, because if he's educating you, then you can watch that 47-minute YouTube video and you can see the 13 tools that you do not have that you're going to have to go purchase, and you can see how he knows what he's doing and you don't. And then you can decide, okay, do I want to go that route and have the additional headaches and the potential things go wrong? Or do I just want to let him do it for me?
That's totally true.
And either one is okay. There's not a right answer and a wrong answer. It really is up to you. So that's our goal in this whole series, is really to walk this parallel journey through the home selling process, showing you what does it look like to work with a realtor, what does it look like to find a great realtor, and then what does it look like if you don't, and you're pretty much running the show yourself. So,
that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and I think, one of the pieces of the puzzle here is, we walk through these steps so often that we can kind of jump over the small things, but, just the initial stuff, if you're kind of walking through the steps and you're trying to figure out what to do and are you capable of handling it, some of the things, it's as simple as documents.
Yep.
Do you have the documents to sign or an offer to purchase, or do you have the residential property disclosure, the MOG? Do you have these documents that are filled out and ready to be able to present to a buyer?
Sure.
And then as far as, working with an agent, now you have to remember, it's unfair advantage, if you will. You're kind of, you're in a game that you don't have the training in, and they do.
Yeah.
You're up against an unfair.
You're also
opponent.
working with a professional negotiator,
That's
right?
right.
I mean, we as real estate agents negotiate. That's our vocation. So, really communicating with someone, and this is what's so important. Communicating with someone, ultimately, when I'm doing it, my first question is, can I trust this person?
Yeah.
Do I feel like this person actually has my best interests?
Yep.
Of course they're going to make money, right? I mean, that's their job, but do they actually have my best interests in mind? Or is this a pretty thinly veiled sales tactic that's just going to cause me to really get to the end of the process and pay thousands of dollars to a jerk who didn't do their job well and didn't actually take care of me?
That's right.
So that's a piece. That's a piece is finding that agent, and I think we should do probably a whole video on the actual interviewing the agent process. But if we're at the V, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, just deciding as far as your schedule goes, okay, based on my work schedule, my family schedule, my the free time that I have available, is this worth my time to do? Because again, we're talking a part-time job for as long as you are working through it. And so understand that, you can almost kind of calculate your hourly wage, right? Okay, take the sale price of your house. Just, I don't know, for this stage, get on and do something very quick and simple. Like, you get on our website, you could do it's a no obligation valuation. Okay. And we've actually done a video that we can link in, talking about how to walk through that process, just to get like a ballpark. Okay, my house is worth probably about $300,000. Okay, so if it's worth probably about that amount of money, and then I'm going to save at least the half of the commission.
That's right.
Of the listing agent side. Okay, I can't guarantee that I can find a buyer. It's pretty rare to find a buyer that's not working with an agent, but it does happen. But I'm at least going to save this half of this commission, and there's no normal typical. Okay, that's the official terms. There's no normal typical for commission. It's all negotiable. But typically we're seeing, in the 2.5-3% range, okay, for each agent. Okay, something along those lines. Depends on the metro markets and all of that, but somewhere in that range. So I'm going to save around that amount of money by not having a listing agent. I'm still going to pay the buyer agent that much, most likely, to get a quality buyer in. So is that worth it for me? Though, let's $300,000 home, let's say 3%, we're talking $9,000. Okay, so is it worth the $9,000 for me to have a part-time job for this amount of time, and then hopefully I have the research and the capacity and the wherewithal and the experience to negotiate well so that I would sell my house at the same price that a realtor would sell it?
That's right.
And I would jump in here and say, look, let me just take off my realtor hat for a second, okay? Let me put on my common sense hat. Are you as good as an attorney at law? Are you as good at taxes as an accountant? Are you as good as a general contractor at building a house? Are you as good as a realtor at selling a property? Mm-hmm. Are you as good as your car mechanic at doing a major repair on your car? It's just common sense that if there's any way possible, you would use an expert to do it, both for the time, the stress, and the fact that they're going to get you more money on the house.
That's right.
Statistically, they are. Now, people debate about the different terms. We can't prove to you what didn't happen. So we can't sell the house twice back to back and say, well, we sold it for $315 and you only sold it for $3. You can't do that. But you need to understand that by using an expert in a particularly complicated field where a lot of risk is on the line, it does give you the advantage of the peace of mind that somebody who knows what they're doing, who's walked through the process many, many, many times, is taking care of you. And I know that that's how the wealthy think.
Yeah.
We've learned that. This is how the wealthy think. The wealthy create a team of experts that they have as consultants available to navigate through the process. So I would really only say the for sale by owner route is, hey, I have to save the money. Mm-hmm. If I have to save the money, we're going to show you. We're going to open the toolbox. We're going to open the secrets. We're not trying to hold back on you.
Yep.
We just want you to understand, going in eyes wide open, it's a big deal.
Yeah. No, it's like you said, we're running like 9 transactions right now. and it's a lot going on.
It's a lot.
A lot of emails coming in, a lot of,
and that's if everything goes smoothly, it's
That's
a
right.
lot. And then if you have some sort of little hiccup or wrinkle, then you really need somebody who's sold 100, 200, 300 houses to say, oh, I've worked that particular anomaly. I've worked it 3 times, and this is how I handled it. And I made that mistake the first time, but I corrected it the second and third. Whereas you, the homeowner, probably have never encountered the random thing. Hopefully you have a smooth transaction. But we have nightmares that come up, and sometimes we're going in and we're consulting with other experienced brokers. We're going in and consulting with attorneys that we trust. We're going in, consulting with appraisers because we have a whole team of experts that know more in their own field. So, that's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Well, just to give you encouragement, if you are thinking of going the for seller by owner, right? I've been in that situation. Like I said, I purchased my first house being for sale by owner, and I had friends that were realtors. Mm-hmm. And so of course I asked questions and different things, and I had somebody who really kind of walked with me through it. I remember at one point I was like, I am so done. Will you please list this? And I remember them looking at me and saying, no.
Wow.
You're right here at the pinnacle of being able to do, you've done all the work.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to press through this. And so
I remember that lady. She was amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, we had some good conversations, and we just kind of pressed through it. And, I think within a week we went under contract. Wow. But just to give you perspective, I mean, the statistics are most of the time you're going to work with an agent on the buyer side. But on both transactions that I did, when I bought my house, I did not have an agent, and when I sold my house, I didn't work with an agent on the buyer side or on the seller side. So it does happen, and we didn't make bukus of money. We bought in 2008, which was not the best time to buy, but we did.
Things were just starting to fall apart.
It was right before everything hit. We were at 6% interest rates like we are right now. But it was one of those things where we bought the house, and we negotiated. And as funny as it was, we made an offer $10,000 under list price.
Okay.
They came at us back and they said, "Look, we're going to do an open house on Sunday. And if we don't get any better offers, then, we'll revisit this."
Yeah.
And they were kind of shocked at our offer. But at the time, it was all we could afford.
Yeah.
We couldn't give them any more than that. That was like our top of the line. And so when it all came to be, the sellers came back to us and they said, "Hey, look, we really like your family," because they had met us. I mean, we had some conversations. They were Joneses, we were Joneses. It was kind of
no way.
It was kind of a cool thing. And so anyway, they ended up, just kind of saying, "Hey, look, we had the open house.
Gotcha.
And we had a bunch of agents that came through, and, we have to pay them 2.5%.
Yeah.
You guys are $10,000 under list, but, we're still going to have to pay them, $5,500. And most of them came under list. So, they came under the list price, not to mention adding commissions and so forth. And so we were the best option.
Wow.
And so, and me as a buyer, I was like, well, should we just give them more? Should we just do this? Should we do that? I was nervous for, a week.
Right.
And my uncle looked at me and he said, "Don't do anything. Just let it roll."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Okay, I'll let it roll." And so they came back to us, they accepted the offer, and we went through the process.
Wow.
And, and then we found things in inspections, and we, came to them and said, "Hey, what about this stuff?" And they fixed every single item.
Wow. Really?
Everything. I mean, outlet cover, crack in the concrete.
Wow.
Whatever. We sent them inspection reports and said, "Hey, here's all the problems." And they said, "All right, we'll fix everything."
Woo.
That ain't how a realtor works. Just saying. But that was one of those things. And they didn't know any better. We didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Yeah.
And then we ended up closing, and they ended up paying us some closing costs.
Wow.
So, it's one of these things where, if you don't know what you're doing and the other person doesn't either, sometimes you're going to get away with something that you wouldn't normally get away with.
And you probably were both pretty happy with the transaction, right?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, we felt like we got a deal. They were in a rush, and they needed to move into another house, and so they were kind of under pressure, which they made the mistake of telling us. And so we used the pressure, to be able to get what we wanted in the same element. So, it was a different thing. But even in my second transaction, when we sold our house, we put it on market, and I put a sign in the front yard. That was it. I think I put it in Zillow, maybe.
Okay. That was what year?
That was in... I don't even know. we were in that house for like 6 or 7 years, I think.
Okay, so we're talking 2014, 2015 area.
Yeah.
So the market had recovered, but it was still
in the climb.
It hadn't gone bananas yet.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we threw a sign in the front yard. We did our our normal kind of like, all right, we'll put it in Zillow, and we put it in at a higher price, and we had to do a price drop, and then we were kind of nervous because we didn't get a lot of showings, and at the time, and it's just so you guys know, I mean, I was only going to pay 2.5%. No, I'm sorry, I was only going to pay 2% to a listing agent.
Okay,
and honestly, my
goal to buyer agent
or buyer agent. Yeah. So my goal is to really give a low enough commission that they would stop bothering me. Because my goal was I wanted to get somebody who didn't have an agent because I didn't want to pay the commission.
Okay.
And so that was a tactic that I used. And it worked. We got somebody who did not have an agent. She came in. She had a friend that was an agent. We had a friend that was an agent. They kind of just helped us through the process together. But at the same time, really what ended up happening was she came with an offer and she said, hey, I'd like to use an agent. And I said, well, if you don't use an agent, this is how much. I gave them $3,500 off the price. And we were at list price. Okay. And so she was willing to pay that. She was willing to give us a little bit in due diligence, which at that time was like $500.
Yep.
Not the case now. But anyway, we ended up doing that. And so go under contract with this lady. She didn't know what she was doing. We didn't know what we were doing. We were passing documents around, and she had an inspection done. And she came back to us, and I told her straight up. I said, look, I'm selling this for $700 because this is all I got. And I said, I don't have any extra cash. I can't fix everything. I can't do all the things. And she's like, okay, well, we'll just make it work. And so she didn't negotiate anymore, and we didn't negotiate anymore. And we closed at the same price that we went under contract at, the same everything. Now, if you were working with a realtor, that would not have float. It wouldn't have happened. It would have been drop the price, do something, whatever. Yeah. And so those negotiations, went a little bit different because we didn't know what we were doing. And it worked in our favor. It worked in her favor and all the things. But at the same time, if I had hired a realtor, I probably would have gotten way more traffic. And then I probably had a lot more showings and probably had a lot more potential for offers. Yeah. And, just being honest, most realtors are not going to go below list unless it's an option. Yeah. Like in our market right now, we're seeing where there's some option to go under list.
Yeah, we're kind of at a third, right? So right. About a third, depending on the condition of the home and the area and everything, are going under list price. A third are right at about list price. And then a third are still over list price. At certain price points, it's still really, really hot. Yeah. But that's really interesting on the for sale by owner stories because it sounds like that you navigated it and felt like that you came out pretty well. Yeah. You don't know what you don't know, that's obviously. Right. What would it have sold for professionally or anything?
Well, I'll add this. I mean, there's houses that we, the agent that we knew that helped us, she pulled a couple comps and said, hey, this is what I feel like fair market value is. I'm like, all right, cool. And that's the same thing for us. If you said, hey, I'm going to go for sale by owner, we don't have a problem pulling comps for you. We can help you out in that element. Yeah. I pay it forward, right? Like somebody did that for me, I'm willing to do that for somebody else. Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like, as I looked, our house sold. I think we bought it for like 141, which I don't think you can find a 3.2 for 141 now. But we bought it
unless it's been flooded.
That's right. And then we sold it for like 151. So we made like $10,000 increase in value. Okay. But we sold our house, and then 3 months later, there was a couple that sold their house up the road from me. And they used an agent. It was our friend. Used the agent, and the house sold for $20,000 more than ours did. Wow! So there were little things that were different, but not $20,000
okay.
And so I looked at that and I was like, man, should we have maybe went that route? And so I second guessed myself a little bit, but we were like in the moment, it's like, well, we saved what we could save. Sure. $20,000 if I had to pay out the commissions, it would have probably been about $7,000 or $8,000 to two agents. Yeah. And so we could have made $12,000 more, but at the same time, we don't know.
Yeah. So. Yeah, you don't. So it really is a bit of a guessing game, but ultimately that's, you need to go with what you feel the most safe, the elements that you can invest in the most. Yep. Are you strapped for cash? Do you have time? Do you not have time? And then really make some decisions there. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this one up because I really want to be able to launch from this into the two different routes. And I think we had talked about really we probably need to jump into valuing the home.
That's right.
Because until you know roughly what your home is valued at, it's going to determine the strategy of how you price it, what you fix, all of that sort of thing. So the next one we're going to do, and actually it's going to be two. It's going to be back to back. Using a realtor, how to determine value. How would they determine value as opposed to for sale by owner? What are some other strategies that you can use to figure out a value on a house? So
that's right.
Anything you wanted to add, kind of wrapping this one up here?
No, like I said, I mean, this video is just to kind of give you some pulse.
Okay.
Do I go this route or go this route? I want to give you enough information because I've been through the for sale by owner side to be able to educate you on what it looks like.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we've given you a good grasp to start. And as we continue, like you said, there's going to be video for both sides.
Yep.
You'll have the realtor side and you'll have the for sale by owner. So if you guys are interested in either, just check them out. I think it's going to be a good series.